Thank you. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Good evening. This is Tarab Ensemble, and I want to start by expressing our gratitude and honor to have been invited to perform before you on such a heavy-hearted occasion, remembering the victims of genocide. And without further delay, I will introduce the members of the band. From left, Nasser Ammar from Lebanon on double bass, on percussion. Grigor Khadrian from Syria on saxophone. All the way from Japan, Chiharo Hota on nine, and Michael Curry on double bass. And my name is Yusuf Arinawi. Shukran.
Thank you everyone for joining us here today. We mark more than a year of genocide in the Gaza Strip. We mark 76 years of ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people from their homes. And we also see a year of what's estimated over 200,000 murdered souls, men, women and children across Palestine and Gaza. And what you see before you today are some kites that have been dedicated to the children who have been murdered, innocent children. You'll see their names written on those kites. And it's a symbol of hope, not just representing their deaths and their murder, but a hope for a new future. For many Palestinians, we come together in mourning, but we don't just mourn. We resist and we fight for a new day. We fight for a world that is free from persecution, oppression, and unseen, ceaseless violence. And within our resistance springs hope. Hope is what guides us. Hope is what inspires us. And it's why we stand every day defiant against such violence. Many of you, your faces we see every week at the Sunday protests, and we thank you, because solidarity is more than just speaking. It is action. It is feeling. It is recognizing each other's humanity and not looking away from others' pain. And it is painful to see, watching those images of innocent children murdered and their limbs dismembered is traumatizing. But it is those with courage and empathy who don't look away and are inspired by their humanity to speak up and do something. So thank you, because these lives have not been lost for nothing. They are there to inspire us for a better future. So I'd like to thank you for coming. We'll have a few minutes by our wonderful band, Tarab Ensemble, which is quite famous within the Palestinian community, for those of you who don't know. They're the preeminent Arabic folk band, playing classical Arabic music here in Victoria and Australia. And they're here to join us to mourn and also celebrate Palestinian lives and resistance. So thank you.
Next piece is composed by Ömer Faruk Takbelik, a Turkish composer from the Sufi world. And Sufism was born in the first century of Islam as a school of thought, and then it made it to poetry, and then it made it to music, and then artists took this form of school of thought and flew to very high skies. And the piece is called Resistance, because in the concept of Sufism, the highest peak of resistance is against one's self, against your own desires. And in our time, the desire to consume and buy more and be greedy and eat more and sleep more and just be greedy, the highest peak of jihad, the highest peak of resistance is against oneself. The piece is dedicated to the Palestinian resistance and the Lebanese resistance and resistance of any colonial power. So, Grigor Khadarian, a Syrian Armenian who himself is a refugee and third generation refugee also, is going to play for you Mawtini. So without further introduction, feel free to join in.
For those of you who may not have known, the band have played a tarab called Mawtini, which is the Palestinian national anthem. And it talks about my land, my home, my nation, how I treasure you, how I care for you. So it's quite fitting that as we watch our families murdered and massacred, that we talk about our liberation and our fight for liberation. So thank you. of you may be wondering, why do we have music? Why are we going to have Palestinian artists? Palestinian resistance and culture is very much so steeped in self-expression. I remember I've lived under occupation in the West Bank, and being caught out in a curfew in Birzeit, and I couldn't get back home in time. And it was in the middle of a bombing raid. And I was very lucky to be able to stay in a cafe in Birzeit full of Palestinian artists. And we stayed up till 4 a.m. playing music and listening to poetry and talking about what inspires us to live, what inspires us in adversity against such brutal oppression. Palestinians have a long and rich history and culture of resisting through art and self-expression. And even in these darkest times, we still use art and our words and our self-expression to resist and to be humanized. And as we spend 12 months in a genocide, that every facet of it, every policy, every bomb, every soldier, every politician, every media outlet dehumanize us to simply a number and a statistic or nothing more. It is our spirit, our voices, our self-expression that rises above. And even as we grieve and we commemorate the lives of those who have been murdered, we have to commemorate their voices and how they wanted to be seen and how they wanted to be heard. So it is extremely telling and important for us to have these kites of our children who've lost their future, but there are thousands and millions more who look to us to build their future. And a famous Palestinian artist, Rifat al-Arir, he wrote a poem talking about this. And it goes, "If I must die, you must live. To tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze, and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself. Seize the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale." So I'd like to welcome you You will see volunteers going around the crowd handing out candles and a name of a child that has been murdered. We were able to cut up individual names, 2,500 names of children. There are 16,000 more. In fact, we know it's not just 16,000. Gaza's health ministry and all its infrastructures have been destroyed, which means they've stopped being able to count. And the number has stopped at 42,000. But we know, every one of us who's lost a family member, we know that it is much more, much more. I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation in which we meet today. It's important that we recognise their history of genocide, ethnic cleansing and dispossession. Their communities, their families and their elders who were also dispossessed from their homes and their lands, who lived under a settler colonial state that even till this day denies their stories and their voices. And as Palestinians, we stand in solidarity with every Indigenous population that is being persecuted. Our stories are the same. Our connection to land is the same. So thank you for coming out here tonight. I'd like to introduce our first artist, Dr. Samah Sabawi. She is a Palestinian, Australian, Canadian playwright, poet, scholar and human rights activist. She is an award-winning playwright and in fact in 2020 received the Green Room Award for Best Writing for her play Them. She's been shortlisted for the Victorian Premier Literary Awards and the Nick Enright Prize for playwriting. Samah Sabawi's plays, such as Tales of a City by the Sea, which premiered in 2014, explores themes about life and love in the besieged Gaza Strip. She highlights the harsh human realities of life under siege, centering Palestinian voices, such as in Tales by the Sea, to humanise it, to show the world we're more than just a statistic. And because of that work, she's come under very vicious attack by pro-Israel lobbies. They've attempted to remove her plays from the Victorian curriculum. She's faced intense, blatant anti-Palestinian racism. But we were able, with everyone's solidarity and the community's solidarity, to fight back and have Palestinian voices heard. So please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you so much, May, and thank you to the band for this beautiful music and for whoever made these kites. I wondered out loud before if some of my family members' names were on these kites. Thank you for being here. I'm going to a place where I often go when words fail me, and I go to poetry. So I'm just going to share with you a poem that I have written called Brother on the Berarong. Dear brother on the Berarong, thank you for welcoming us on your country, for sharing your sweet water, fertile soil, and abundant sea. We ask your forgiveness, for our thirst remains unquenched, our bellies bloated like empty drums, our hearts besieged by nightmares, by salt-riddled eyes in rag tents. My brother in grief, not in blood. Genocide stretches its long shadow, connecting yours to mine's sorrow. Across green fields and over mountain peaks, along billabongs, the memory mourns and the soul yearns for our lost ones. A knock on the coffin will not awaken those departed. My brother in sorrow, not in blood. There are no coffins in Gaza, no privacy for the dead, only scattered remains begging to be found, pulled from beneath the rubble, dug from crowded mass graves, from scorched earth and pillaged homes. rescued from the jaws of hungry dogs in the streets. So far from here is that land, my brother, yet so near. My brother in struggle, listen, your heart and mine pound to that same rhythm, traversing through dream time, wrapping song lines in jasmine vines and lemon blossoms, resurrecting ancient tribes and ways of lives never forgotten, hovering over birthing trees, running with the departed along the green banks of the Berarong, Billabong, and the sandy shores of the Gaza Sea, holding hands, skipping waves, subsisting on memories. How do we undie our loved ones? How do we unbomb universities and hospitals? How do we unmassacre the innocent? How do we undo what power, hate, and greed has done? I wish I could collect the ashes of our home and build again the walls that witnessed our stories. I wish I could unerase the features of our city. My brother in humanity, we will hold on to one another. Together we affirm there is no way but tomorrow, and tomorrow will soon be here. And I will welcome you to mine, my country. I will make a scarf for you, cross-stitched with tatris. And you will teach me dot painting, and we will sway to the didgeridoo and strum the strings of oud. Together, you and me, we will marvel the magic of the soil that springs life, the allure of the moon that commands the tides, the glory of the sun that still rises after every sunset, and the brilliance of the stars that hold our secrets. My brother in hope, as long as we see each other, as long as I see you, my brother, and you see me, we exist despite their tyranny. Their colonies will fade away, and we will stand steadfast, older than time and younger than eternity. Two indigenous nations, refusing to be erased, dancing with the spirits of our ancestors, forever tethered to our land, even as our roots are shredded by bulldozers and tanks. Did you know, my brother, our enemies are astonished by our resilience? They wonder, how is it that after all their killing, we have not run out of living? We have not run out of words or songs or poetry. And we have not run out of hope. My dear brother on the Berarong, let there always be hope.
It is with a heavy heart that we all meet here today. But please know, Palestine is seeing you and your solidarity. I share the images with family back home, and they're astounded that they're being seen and heard, and our stories are being shared, and that people weep and feel with us. And that is something important, because for decades, our suffering and pain wasn't even acknowledged. The murder of our families were not acknowledged. The incarceration of whole generations in Israeli gulags were not acknowledged. The fact that we live under an apartheid regime that is well documented was not acknowledged. But now it is acknowledged. And that is powerful. So we grieve together, but we resist together. Thank you.
Yes. In this piece, we will play a piece composed by the Rahbani brothers to the iconic voice of not just Lebanon, not just the Arabs, but all humanity, Fairuz and Wadia Safi. And gives me so much honor as a Palestinian to play for Lebanese composers. But our one thing we pride ourselves in the ensemble is we reflect the diversity of Arabic music from as east as Oman and as west as Morocco. The piece is on the style of Andalusi, Muwashah, and it was called Biruhiya Tilka al-Ard. In this piece, I will read a poem for Mahmoud Darwish, the Palestinian poet. It's going to be in Arabic, so if you, those who don't speak Arabic, please bear with us. Thank you. أعود 30 عاما و5 حروب وأشهد أن الزمان يخبئ لي سنبلا. يغني المغني عن النار والغرباء، وكان المساء مساء، وكان المغني يغني ويستجوبون لماذا تغني؟ يرد عليهم لأني أغني. وقد فتشوا صدره فلم قلبه وقد فتشوا قلبه فلم يجدوا غير شعبه وقد فتشوا صوته فلم يجدوا غير حزنه وقد فتشوا حزنه فلم يجدوا غير سجنه وقد فتشوا سجنه فلم يجدوا غيرهم في القلوب وقد فتشوا سجنه فلم يجدوا غيرهم في القيود وراء التلال ينام المغني وحيدا وفي شهر آذار تصعد منه الظلال.
I'd like to check, has every single one of you got a candle and a name? Can you hold up that name and that candle? I'd like to take a moment of reading out some of the names of the children that were murdered. And I thought that you could join me in also calling out the names of the children that you hold in your hand. We all know Hind Rajab's name now, a 5-year-old Palestinian girl who was caught in the crossfires with her family, who called for help, and the Israelis killed her whole family around her, and eventually she was murdered. That war crime is very well documented, and her name is heard, and it won't be forgotten. But I'd also like to read out the names of the other children. Amin Abdullah Amin Abu Rus, Arwa Qais Abdel Zahrani, Qamar Yahya Jihad Ahmad, Muhammad Qishta, Anas Azal Din Musa Ashur, Rafif Abdullah Yusuf Isa, Muhammad Ahmad Nasir, Khalid Al Zinati, Muhammad Abu Mustafa, Muhammad Musa Isa Samur, Yahya Musa Abu Nusaira, Rayman Omar Zakaria Al Astal, Hamda Jahd Al Bakri, Tariq Muhammad Saleh, Muhammad Mahmoud Muhammad, Salim Ahmed Aid Wafi, Adam Hussein Muhammad Al Khair, Sari Abdullah Zakaria Muammar, Rami Muhir Ibrahim Nufel, Ibtisam Abdullah Mahmoud Abdoun. Those are the names of 4-year-old children that we know have been murdered. Would any of you like to call out some of the names that you hold? What name do you hear? Anyone else want to say their name?
Amin Muhammad Khamis.
Please remember those names. That name that you hold, please remember them. Because if they're remembered, they're not forgotten. They were children. They were innocent. And all they've ever seen in their life is violence and war. And there is a particular pain for Palestinians when we can't even protect our children from Israeli violence. We know they're a target. Every single one of us is a target. But there is a level of cruelty that's inhumane to target a child. So please hold those names dear and don't forget them. Thank you. take a moment to introduce our next performer. She is a Palestinian woman from Khan Yunis, Gaza. And the last time she was on a stage, she was talking about Palestinian prisoners. And for some of you, you may not know, but Gaza is considered the largest open-air prison in the world. Since 2006, Israel has controlled land, sea, and air. Palestinians, a whole population, were held prisoner. And as this genocide has unfolded, they are prisoners with no home, no shelter, no water, no food, and they're being starved to death by a government and its policy. And that is a policy. Jada, when she was last on the stage, spoke about how she couldn't get her daughter and her family out. And I think every single Palestinian and every single human will look to that situation and think, we need to get them to safety. There is not one element, area, iota of Gaza that is safe. Not one speck of it. But we will continue to resist for our own safety and for everyone else's, and for Jada and her family and every other Palestinian family. Please give her a warm welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. We will definitely resist with every way we can. And tonight, I want to share a poem with you by a Palestinian poet based in Gaza. His name is Muhammad Musa. And this is a poem entitled, They Mystify You. They close the crossing, so lift your suitcases and go home. They fill the sea with warships, so your dreams sink. They dress you in a robe of despair, so you cannot see life's glamour. They call you a terrorist, so you have no right to self-defense. They mock your bravery, so you learn to hate yourself. They grip your tongue, so your mouth cannot form the truth. They drown you in darkness, so you cannot see the light of hope. They drive the light from your morning, so you fear the sun. They put your hands to your face, you will caress only ashes. Don't bother to collect life's remnants, they will only mystify you. Pick up your suitcases and go home. They have closed the gates. Thank you.
Our next poem will be read by Rebecca Sakamatin and her daughter Mariska. Rebecca was born in Jerusalem. The Sakas are from Beit Jala, an area in Jerusalem. They were stonemasons who built the grand churches of Jerusalem and Bethlehem. During the war, the occupation of Jerusalem in 1966 and 67, they found safe haven in Australia when she was 5 years old. Palestinians are one of the largest refugee populations in the world, and we're always trying to find safe haven. But what we want is to go back to our homeland, not just as tourists. Rebecca is the author of 2 poems, being read by her oldest daughter, Mariska. Through poetry, Mariska is learning about her family's proud heritage and its complex heritage. connection to land, dispossession, ethnic cleansing, and resistance. Please give them a warm welcome.
Hello everyone. This first one is called Peace Talks. I feel the sky is falling. Our people can no longer sing. Over many homes, the tractors are rolling. In much pain and suffering they bring. In the camps, you see the children crying, and from hunger and sewage they are dying. Leaders sit around a table and just talk. Then away to rich, comforting safety they walk. This next one is called Why They Have None. When you refuse to hear the stories of our people, why do you say they have none? When you refuse to see the dances of our people, why do you say they have none? When you refuse to feel their warmth and care, why do you say they have none? When you refuse the claims of their land and homes, why do you say they have none?
There is a level of pain when you're expressing voices by Palestinian artists and writers, because you know it's coming from a place of deep sorrow, but hope. Palestinian voices speak in adversity. We don't expect to be heard, we demand it. We demand it like every other human being who demands equality, freedom from persecution or discrimination or racism, like every other person. Like every single one of those lives that have been lost, where their dreams were shattered, where their futures were stolen. We demand more. And we fight for it every single day, in every way. And we thank you for standing and fighting side by side with us. We'll have a short 2 songs to be played by the Tarab Ensemble before we have our next speaker. But as we listen to them, please remember the children's names that you hold in your hand. And please keep them in your heart, because they wanted a future as well. now have a projection on the screen. I do warn you, this may be distressing for some of you. We'll first be playing a projection of all the healthcare workers and artists who have been murdered in Gaza in the last 12 months. Please feel free to sit down if you'd like, and get comfortable. But if it is distressing, do look away. But they are the images of their faces and their names and who they are. And we honour them. This piece and dedication that you just heard to Gaza's journalists and healthcare workers was written and performed by Melbourne concert pianist Jason Gilham. And his show was cancelled because he dedicated this piece to Gaza. It takes people of courage willing to stand up and speak up. And together in unity, we're able to highlight these names, these voices, these atrocities. Our next presentation will be images of the children who've been murdered in Gaza.
يا ليل ما أطولك مشيتني حافي
solidarity for a better world free from racism, bigotry and colonialism. And since October 7th, has focused his energies on fighting for Palestinian liberation, freedom and safety. Please welcome him to the stage.
Hello everybody, I'm Hillel from Loud Jew Collective. Sorry, I think we're all feeling that. Before I get started, I guess I just want to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you today on unceded, stolen land. Colonization is an ongoing process that still is going on today. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Much like everyone, I guess I feel like I have so much to say and nothing to say at the same time. And when I came here and got my candle and my name, my brain went completely blank. And then when we brought out all of the names on this side and that, my brain went blank, and then it went blank again, seeing pictures of all the amazing, lovely people who've been murdered. So I'm sorry that I'm just not speaking at the best right now. I guess we're here tonight to grieve, remember, hold memories of the at least 42,000 people who've been murdered in Israel's genocide. Again, 16,000 at least of who are children. That's just in the last year, not even including the last 76 years since the Nakba. On top of that, we're also acknowledging and remembering the places that have been destroyed, the schools, the homes, the knowledge, the history that is ash and rubble now as well. And as allies that are here today, it's really important for us as well that we keep talking about this and seeing it, and it is our duty to make sure that others can't be willfully ignorant to what is happening. Like before, when we had some of the music playing, there was also like Katy Perry playing over there with people having drinks. Behind us, there's plenty of people having drinks. You can't ignore this. People do, because it makes them feel sad. And as allies, it's our job to make sure that they can't. Because to be willfully ignorant of what's going on is to be complicit with it. And God knows we've all seen it. We've all know where that goes, and it can't keep going like that. Tonight is also the start of Yom Kippur, which is the holiest night in the Jewish calendar. It's the night or the day where God judges us for the next year. And I mean, I don't need to tell you how ironic that is, that that's happening now while this is happening, being done by Israel, a country that claims to follow that. I guess all I can say to that is I hope that God judges the Zionists. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Hillel. We all mourn together. I wanted to leave you with one more poem by a very famous Palestinian artist and writer. He's no longer with us. His name is Mahmoud Darwish. And this poem is called Passport. It's actually a very famous poem for Palestinians. They did not recognize me in the shadows that suck away my color in this passport. And to them, my wound was an exhibit for a tourist who loves to collect photographs. They did not recognize me. Don't leave the palm of my hand without the sun, because the trees recognize me. Don't leave me pale like the moon. All the birds that followed my palm to the door of the distant airport, all the wheat fields, all the prisons, all the white tombstones, all the barbed boundaries, all the waving handkerchiefs, all the eyes were with me. But they dropped them from my passport, stripped of my name and identity, on soil I nourished with my own hands. Today, Job cried out, filling the sky, "Don't make an example of me again. O gentlemen, prophets, don't ask the trees for their names. Don't ask the valleys who their mother is. From my forehead bursts the sword of light, and from my hand springs the water of the river. All the hearts of the people are my identity. So take away my passport." This is a very powerful poem that talks about the way the Israeli state tried to take away identity and laughed and regaled in our pain and our wounds and our suffering. But this is our land and our home, and it recognises us. And so we fight on for liberation. We mourn our dead. We acknowledge them, we respect them, we hold them dear, and we continue fighting in their name. They are who give us hope, and they are not forgotten. We'll leave you with a final song from Tarab Ensemble. If you do want to see them, they are performing on the 25th of October at 7 p.m. at the Darabin Arts Centre. There are flyers up at the stage if you'd like to collect. We do have another very important event coming up, Palestine National Day on the 1st of November here at Federation Square at 5:30 p.m. The Palestinian community hold this event every single year to celebrate, not this year, but to recognise, to acknowledge, to uplift Palestinian art, heritage, identity, and it is our form of resistance. We have lived under 76 years of brutal occupation and ethnic cleansing, but we still exist, we still resist, and we fight for our liberation. So please join us on the 1st of November at 6 p.m. Thank you.
I'm sure most of you have heard the question, why Palestine? Why not other causes in Africa or Latin America or Asia? Why do we in Australia single out a foreign cause and then impose it on our mainstream media when there are many injustices around the world? The question, this seems like a valid question, and the answer is that Palestine is the moral test of our time. In every era, there is a cause that represents a test for the humanity. In the 60s, it was the Vietnam War. In the 70s and 80s, it was South Africa. And now, Palestine is the test. And by test, I mean within the progressive movement around the world, you will see people who have progressive views on climate change, progressive views on combating fascism, progressive views on combating Islamophobia, progressive views in supporting Black Lives Matter and First Nation. But when it comes to Palestine, they're either silent or even worse, pro-Israel. So Palestine is the test of our time, and do not be intimidated if somebody try to silence you by this question. And the evidence here is that I forgot my kufiya, and I was given this kufiya by my Jewish Israeli anti-Zionist friend Sivan Barak. So thank you for giving me my kufiya. This is the spirit that we're talking about. And allow me, before I play the last piece, to thank my brothers and sisters in the band who came and played in a not too friendly weather today. So Nasser Ammar on percussion, Grigor Khadrian saxophone, Chiharo Hotta on nai, Michael Curry on double bass. Come and watch the full band on the 25th. We have flyers if you want. Now the piece is called Ana fi Intizarak, I Am Waiting for You, and it was by the iconic singer Kulthum, a song that dates back to 1942, and it will be beautifully performed by our precious member Jihar Hotta and the band. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Shukran. All back to you, to Main.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our vigil. If you'd like to help us pack up and bring the candles over, please do. They're being collected on the this side of the stage, your left, I believe. So if you would like to help us pack up, please do. We're collecting the candles on the left side of the stage. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us.
Sorry? Just finishing up now. Thanks everyone.